This is for anyone who's never watched silent films before or is just starting to get into silent films. I'll start off with a couple honorable mentions. For anyone who would rather start off with a modern silent film instead of jumping straight into the classics, I'd recommend Flow or Robot Dreams. But I think one of the best things you can do if you want to learn more about film history and develop a greater appreciation for movies outside of your comfort zone is to start at the beginning. I think it's valuable to learn about the different precursors of film and see how humans went from using different devices such as the zoetrope to take images and create the illusion of movement, and then watch some of the earliest films and see how the medium developed and evolved. The earliest decades of film history are truly unbelievable. Humans accomplished so much and the art form evolved so rapidly, it's incredible. But for anyone who doesn't want to take a film history course or go back that far, I tried to think of the 5 silent films I personally would deem the most essential, which was pretty challenging because I love silent films. But if I taught a film class and for some inexplicable reason could only show my students 5 silent films, I would show them A Trip to the Moon. I've had a few people reach out and say they don't know where to start when it comes to short films, but they want to watch more of them. And this is a great film to start with, whether you want to get into silent films, short films, or both. Not only is it short, but the plot is easy to understand, and it's one of the most influential films ever made. It's a sci-fi film about traveling to the moon, and although it was inspired by a novel, I think it's such a breathtaking example of the power of human imagination, because at this point in time, humans weren't even flying planes yet. And I recommend checking out the hand-colored version if possible, because the film was originally released in both black and white and hand-painted color, and I remember seeing color in a film from 1902 was mind-blowing to me, because I didn't even know that was possible, and it's even more impressive when you realize each frame had to be meticulously painted by hand. Next, I'd jump ahead to 1920 and recommend The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. I feel like Nosferatu is the more famous silent German expressionist horror film, but I prefer Caligari. The set designs are so striking, and I was so surprised by the story. If I explained the plot to someone now, they wouldn't think it was anything innovative, but I had no idea this type of plot and narrative structure existed in movies in the 1920s. Speaking of films with fantastic stories, my next recommendation is The Kid. Charlie Chaplin accomplishes so much with this film in such a brief 68 minutes. I think this is a must-watch for aspiring filmmakers, especially screenwriters. I always think silent films are a good way for screenwriters to get inspiration because they're usually great examples of how to apply the show don't tell rule. But I think The Kid in particular is a prime example of how to tell a story in a succinct manner while still having a clear narrative arc and character growth. It's a movie that I think will make most people feel something. I laugh and cry every time I watch it. A lot of people tend to compare Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, even though they have complete opposite comedic styles. So I'd also recommend Sherlock Jr. Even if you end up not being into Keaton's brand of deadpan humor, I think his films are worth watching for the stunts alone. If you're impressed by Tom Cruise doing his own stunts, or you watch certain action movies and find yourself asking, how did they do that? You'll love Buster Keaton. When it comes to stunts, The General seems to be the more popular Keaton film, but I think Sherlock Jr. is the best one to start with because in addition to the stunts, I think the story for this one is also groundbreaking. It's one of the earliest examples of a film within a film. Okay, I had a really difficult time narrowing this list down to just 5 movies. I really wanted to include Man with a Movie Camera so I could include a documentary, or The Adventures of Prince Ahmed so I could include an example of early animated films. But for my 5th and final film, I'm going to go with Metropolis. I don't want to keep using the words influential and groundbreaking because those could apply to all the films I've named, but I'm still in awe of this movie. So much creativity and detail went into designing this futuristic city and robots, and its commentary on class and technology was vastly ahead of its time.